want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. So please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. I was going to preach on the gospel because I think we all need to hear what happens when you tell people what they don't want to hear. But then I made the cardinal mistake of the internet. Does anyone know what the cardinal mistake is? Read the comments. You don't ever read the comments. My neighborhood has a Facebook page, and really the only reason I stay on this Facebook page is because sometimes I get really good stuff cheap. But there is a rule in my neighborhood. You just don't read the comments. Because it is striking all the things that the suburbs have to worry about and complain about. And I made the mistake. I read the comments. There was a discussion going on, I don't even know how it started, but it was kind of this atheist conversation. And these poor persecuted atheists and these poor persecuted Christians, and it turns out everyone's persecuted. I don't know if you've noticed that in our society, but like literally everyone's persecuted. Have you ever noticed everyone is persecuted? And then I was like, okay, we need to talk about Paul. Because it felt like a clanging cymbal to me. Because we all feel persecuted all the time. Everyone's so mean to us. Listen, if you are an affluent white person, you are not persecuted. If you are size, gender, and straight, you are not persecuted. Can we just say that? And yet, don't we have this in our society? Like, we're all offended by something. Everyone's being mean to us about something. And I kept thinking, maybe it's time for us to worry about who we're offending. Because I will be the first to admit, we're all offending somebody. I offend people all the time. Trust me, I've had a lot of conversations and emails about the people that I offend. It is many and varied. And sometimes I offend the opposite people for the same thing. And it's fascinating to me. Because I might say one thing, and these people over here who don't like these people over here are offended by what I said. And these people are offended too. And I'm like, wow, you guys have something in common. Unity. Meg has offended everybody. It's incredible. So we all are offended by stuff, right? And I'm wondering if it's time for us maybe to think about, maybe I should be less worried about my being offended and more worried about what I'm doing to others, what I'm saying or doing that is hurtful to others. Trust me, I say mea culpa a lot. And here's what I realized. I realized that we have become clanging cymbals, haven't we? We're just loud, these horrible, awful, clanging gongs of noise. We're just noise all the time. And there's noise about everything. We're just upset all the time. And I realize it's because we're all busy bullying other people into agreeing with us. Now, perhaps at one point in your life, somebody bullied you into agreeing with them. But I kind of doubt it. Because the reality is, none of us have ever been convinced to change our minds because someone's been mean to us about it. And someone has said, you are so dumb. And you have offended me, and you've said all these things, and I'm going to call you all these names. Has anyone ever changed their mind and be like, oh my gosh, you're right. You are right. I am so, oh my gosh. Anyone ever had that moment where someone is a complete and utter jerk to you and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to change my ways. You are absolutely right. No, that is not how we respond. Trust me, if you want to know how we respond, read the comments. I mean, I don't recommend reading the comments, but if you really want to know what happens when we start arguing back and forth, go ahead, read the comments. I mean, I recommend you give yourself a solid scotch and a bar of really good chocolate if you're going to sit down and do that, because it's going to take you a while to get out of that rabbit hole. But feel free. I don't recommend it, but feel free. And I realized as I started to think about this, how right Paul is. Because we all feel really self-righteous sometimes, don't we? I mean, we're like, hello, I'm on God's side. And hello, I've read the books. And hello, I know the research. Anyone had that moment? Because we're good Episcopalians, we've read the research. I'm not the only one in this room. Like, you've read the research, right? And you've, like, done the study Bible approach. I mean, not like the good news Bible, but you're, like, reading the hardcore stuff. And you're like, oh, bro, right? We've all been there. We're good Episcopalians. That's what we go to. We go straight to the research. But here's the deal. Paul is absolutely right. Our self-righteousness, our being correct, doesn't mean anything. If you have the option of being right or being kind, which one should we choose? Kind. And yet that's not the one that we choose, is it? We love to be right. We love to be right. And we will sacrifice anything in the search of being right because we will prove you wrong. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if our beliefs are right. It means nothing. We are nothing, even if we're correct. Even if we've got every footnote known to man, every research, every article, everything known to man, it means nothing. Because what is the one thing that means everything? Love. What is the one thing that we have sacrificed to be right? Relationship. We have sacrificed relationships for everything. And yet we know, don't we? We really, truly, in our heart of hearts know that relationship with other humans, with the world around us, with God, is the most important thing. And yet we are willing to sacrifice it for 3 minutes of being right. And does being right really feel that good? No, it really doesn't. When those relationships end up being broken and you're completely alone in your rightness, it's still lonely. It's still crushingly lonely. And we've got to realize that relationship is the number one thing. And I'm not saying sacrifice being right. I'm not saying jump in with being wrong. I'm saying maybe, just maybe, when we have these discussions, do them in love first. Can I tell you a story? The church that I served before here, it was an Episcopal church, so it was a traditional Episcopal church, which means it was a bunch of old people, and they were really conservative. I told you, I can offend everyone. Like, one line. It is my charism. Everyone has a gift. Some people can speak in tongues. Some people can prophesy. I can literally bring unity by offending you all. But it was your traditional Episcopal church, which means that there were like 15 of them, and they were angry, and they were very, very conservative. They were very, very right. Like within my lifetime, they had told people that you really couldn't go to church with there unless you had a sport jacket on. Like women had to wear dresses and men had to wear jackets. And they had literally had interventions with people to tell them, now y'all, I have one rule when it comes to dress. Please come dressed. That's it. Like, I know God created us as we are, but I don't want to see us all as we are. I love you. I really, truly do. Let's keep it that way. So anyway, they were really, really into rules. So you can imagine how I handled this, right? Because I can offend you all, and St. Anne's is really hard to offend, and I can do it. So you can imagine how I handled being in a church of like 15 to 20 people on a good day. All white, pretty conservative, and how do I say this? Most of their grandkids were older than my husband and I. I'm not exaggerating. In fact, they called us the youth group. Yeah, for reals. You think I'm kidding, but I'm not. Guys, I cannot tell you how much I love this parish. I loved that church with my entire being. I bawled the day that I announced that I was leaving. Loved this church so much. And so anyway, they were not okay with the whole homosexuality thing. In fact, they were still coming to terms with having to hire a woman, but we come cheaper. And they really didn't have that many options. It turns out if you want a 45-year-old male with 50 years of experience and 3 kids and a wife who doesn't work, you better be willing to shell out some money because they're rare. But here I was, and they were not really on board with a lot of the things that I believed in. And so they were like, okay, so here's the deal. Don't get into the gay thing with us, please. Don't get into the gay thing with us. And if you could, if you decide to have a baby, if you could not be pregnant by the altar, that's awkward. And I was like, well, I got to put it somewhere. Comes with me. But they were really, really hardcore into feeling very, very nervous about the homosexuality thing. And here's the thing. In Iowa, it had become legal to be married quite some time before here. And me, it was like, hey, everybody, we love everybody. And they're like, yeah, you can, but. And they were really, really strong in this. Until one day, 2 young girls showed up. And they were lesbian, and very openly lesbian. And yet, it was through them becoming very, very involved in the church and building up relationships. Would you believe the most hardcore people in that church not only attended their wedding, but they read at their wedding? They served at their wedding. Guys, it's not the clanging cymbals. I can preach all the sermons that I want. I can yell at you all I want. I can offend you all I want. It will not change the world. The one thing that will change the world is relationship, is love. And until we are willing to lean in and not post the comments, not make every single effort to be right, to prove our rightness, the world will be full of clanging cymbals. And it will be noise, 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 noise all the time. But when we calm that noise down, when we lean in and we seek to understand, to really, truly understand, when we see with God's eyes another human and their experience, we will change. And that's a good thing. Change is a good thing, and it doesn't always feel good to admit that we're wrong, but it is good. And I offer that story to you because it was so incredibly powerful. It was so incredibly powerful to me because it doesn't matter what I tell you about the gospel. It doesn't matter all the research that I give you. It doesn't matter any of that. It doesn't matter how well I say it or articulate it. Until you sit down with somebody who is different from you, someone who sees the world completely different from you, you will not change. And maybe that's why we don't do it. Maybe we're so afraid of change that it's easier to be a clanging cymbal than it is to be a Christian. Maybe. But here's what I will tell you. I will tell you this again and again and again because I really, really, truly believe this. Our memes will not save the world. Our arguments will not save the world. My sermons will not save the world. You want to know what's going to save the world? 2 cups of coffee and 120 minutes. And Jesus, but we know that. Let's stand together and say the words of the Nicene Creed. We believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. of all that is seen and unseen.